It's InGame Live Prime Time on a terrific Tuesday. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan for the next 2 glorious hours as we watch, analyze, and more importantly, bet on the world of sports. Ah, yes, it's a beautiful thing. We got NBA, we got college basketball, we got some hockey, we got George Kurtz, we got Coach James Young joining us over the next 2 hours. We got the Black Cloud, we got our same game parlay. We're handing out 5 more automatic bids to the NCAA tournament tonight. And then we may also be introducing Vice President Aaron Rodgers, if you saw that story or not, latest in the NFL. Craziness. Unbelievable. What's going on, Dave? How are you tonight? What are you rocking this evening? Ooh, old Minnesota North Stars? Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Old school, new school Stars, old school North Stars. Biggest game of the night, in my opinion, the Panthers and the Stars. Really good game. That might be an NHL Stanley Cup Finals preview. It could be. Start to talk about that. The Rangers and the Hurricanes going on right now. The Rangers looked great yesterday against the Devils. Playing tonight against the Hurricanes. They're already up 1-0. So I got the hockey. You got the basketball. We're going to have, these are 2 really good games. And then there's a game later. It's Minnesota and Arizona. I don't think this is a good game, but I call this pulling the Wetzel. This is I've adopted this, and I take complete liberty in using your last name. But the regulation play, I love that move to get away from a big money line favorite. Minnesota in regulation against maybe the worst team in hockey. Arizona's pretty bad. Feel like that's a good play. We'll talk about that total a little bit later. We'll get Kurtz on to talk about hockey. It's a great time of year, Scott. I did not hear about this vice president story. I heard about Derrick Henry going to Baltimore. I heard about Queen going to Pittsburgh. I heard about all the quarterback movements and all this other stuff, but I did not hear this story. This might be maybe a local New York story only. I don't know.
And I'd like to say I'm making it up or exaggerating, but I'm really not. So I guess he's best buddies with Robert Kennedy Jr., who is going to run for independent. He's going to run on the independent ticket for president, right? So apparently, he's actually considering bringing on Aaron Rodgers as his running mate. And yeah, like Aaron Rodgers doesn't have enough on his plate, right? The guy's not going to win, right? But he's going to, supposedly they've been talking, and he's on the short list for people that he's considering to join him on his independent rise.
I mean, should he be worried about getting the mini camp and seeing if the Achilles is working and like getting some reps with the receivers, like with the
world
with
flat,
the AFC East,
all these other things that he's into.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, like a lot of the Dolphins lost a lot of guys, the Bills lost a lot of guys. The odds to win the AFC East are there, and we know the Patriots aren't going to be close to that. This might be a perfect opportunity to build up some rapport with those receivers and go, let's go win the division, boys. Let's change the whole narrative here in New York. Strange. Didn't know that. That's pretty wild. So yeah, did not know that. Unbelievable.
By the way, did you see what your Minnesota North Stars Wild did this weekend against I think it was Nashville? They pulled the goalie. I knew this rule, but I had forgotten about it. They're in overtime against Nashville, and they pulled the goalie, and they scored. The rule is that if you pull the goalie and the other team gets a goal, it wins, you don't get 1 point. By pulling the goalie, you risk losing your 1 point. So Minnesota, battling for a playoff spot, said, you know what, we 1 point's not going to be enough, so let's get possession. You know how these overtimes are. You could literally have possession for 2 minutes. I mean, it's hard to actually get the puck. So they decided they were going to pull the goalie. They scored, that they won the game in overtime, but you don't see that very often where a team will do that. I kind of like the move. I really do. You get one extra skater 4-on-3. It is tough for that opposition to get the puck. So
it's very tough. So they win the game. They get the 2 points. Nashville gets 0?
Right. No, Nashville still gets their 1. But had Nashville scored on the open net, then Minnesota wouldn't have gotten 1. They would have gotten 0. Nashville would have got their 2, but Minnesota would have gotten the 1.
Okay, because you're kind of like conceding the game. They would have people doing that all the time. So they have to hold
it. That's what I'm thinking.
You never see that. I did not see that.
Never.
Thank you for that information. That's why I love doing the show with you. You see stuff that people don't. I absolutely love that. Will we see that more, do you think, as
I
the
think we
playoffs get
will.
tight?
You know,
Yeah.
you need 2 points. You know, you can't sacrifice just the one, and there is such a huge advantage, right? It's not like 6-on-5. You know, you get, or even 5-on-4. You get 4 skaters on 3 skaters. That is big. Like you know, Dave, you watch a lot of hockey, obviously. You get in overtime, and once you get possession of that puck, you're just dancing around and you're waiting for an opening. You could have possession literally for a minute, right? No exaggeration.
Easy.
So now you throw
Not
another
exaggerating.
skater on there.
Yeah.
You know, you're never, who's going to guard him, basically, right? I mean, so it's not a bad strategy. You know, if you're like 7-8 points behind.
And there's so much more wide open ice that with that one extra skater on the shorter number of players, it's a dream. I mean, we play roller hockey. It's 4-on-4 to begin with, now. So there's a lot of open space on a regulation size rink. When you go 4-on-3 and then a 5-on-3, I may never give up the puck. I mean, the only way I'm giving up the puck is if the goalie catches it and holds it or covers it and we get a face-off. So that's good to know. I think that's a great – now, see, this is almost like when we do the baseball. Baseball season is coming up and we'll be doing this show. When a non-pitcher goes into pitch, there's like Discord groups and groups of professional gamblers that I know that send out an alert. Position player pitching, bet the total, bet that there will be a run, bet that there will be, over, whatever. This might be one of those opportunities. And if you see this happen live, Wetzel, you're going to have to at least text me and maybe Matty G. Yeah. I think Matty G's involved. Matty G's involved. He makes us look good. He can be in the chat. You're going to have to let me know because that's an automatic play, I think.
Yeah, right.
I mean, and the algorithm has no idea about it. That's good to know.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but you're right.
Yeah.
They're just giving a regular pick-em line. Meanwhile, you got an extra skater out there. That's not, that's true. The hockey needs more of that, Dave. I've always said that. These guys are so stringent. It's like no one makes any kind of controversial moves or pulls a goalie when they got the power play. Why not go up two on a team? They're not going to get the puck. No one does anything like that. And that's what makes the game kind of boring. They need, even if it's stupid, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, who cares? Just do something different in hockey.
Whoa. It's a very routine game. Everybody takes shifts. Everybody has line mates.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of,
20
we
seconds.
have a power play unit. We have a penalty kill unit. There's procedures. You dump the puck when you're supposed to. You skate for 45 seconds and get off the ice. You're asking a lot of change here. That's not the game. It's very routine. Which I think you're asking a bit much here.
Yeah, see, I'm not old school, I may be old, but I'm not old school. I want change. I want something different.
You are the definition of old school. What are you talking?
Yeah, I know.
It's your playlist.
But I want to be able to yell and scream at the head coach, I don't yell and scream because they had the wrong line change. All right, we'll look at the games when we come back.
The Bostonian versus the book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like
this
is the guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
This
is the Penn State
rule. Be better than the West half.
Yep.
And that 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the book.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, prime time, right here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan, just getting underway. We got Coach Young joining us next hour. We got George Kurtz joining us in about a half hour. We'll do some hockey and some NFL stuff with him. In the meantime, we'll continue to look at the NHL slate, little NBA, little college basketball. Do want to hop into I thought this was one of the absolute best bets on the board, and that is in the NBA tonight, believe it or not, and that's the Knicks, After the Knicks, Dave, got but embarrassed for sure, scoring 73 stinking points on Sunday against Philadelphia. Yep. And now they're meeting up again, which is rare that you'd have like a back-to-back like that, but you do get every once in a while. So anyway, it sets up perfectly. They're hosting Philadelphia again. They had a near brawl in the game the first time. I thought for sure, I'm not a big quarter or first half player, but someone said this, and I'm like, you know what? That's not a bad little play. I did play the Knicks in a game, laying 6.5. I got it early. And then having the Knicks in the first quarter was probably a smart play as well. You score 73 points in a game, and you lose, as they did, on your home court. You're going to come out flying next game. And I think they won the first quarter by about 14 to 16 points. So, and they're leading by double digits now over Philadelphia.
These back-to-backs, the home and home used to be you play the team and then you go back and play them in their building.
Right.
And now the NBA, one of the changes when they came back from COVID and started, they stay in the same city and the same matchup plays with a day in between. And listen, that game on Sunday, 79-73, set back basketball to the 60s. That was the lowest scoring game for a winning team since 2016. I love the total under today. I mean, it closed 208.5, and I thought, all right, we're going to play under. It's one of those ones where, as a guy in the room or in the book, you need to make an adjustment because the first game and the number was so low. How low do you go? Do you go down to 201 or 202 and take some bets over? You don't want to move it that much, so they close it around 208.5, and listen, we're on pace. We're good. The in-game number here, 194.5. So
wow,
good pace, good start. That's already down. It might unload on try to take a shot with the middle here soon if this continues because they started scoring here to start the second quarter. But I don't know, Scott. I watched that game, and Brunson was back, and I was trying to believe in the Knicks and being the hype and being the number 2 seed and all that other stuff. I don't see it. I know you're a New York guy. You like basketball and stuff. The Knicks can't be considered to win, like beat Boston or beat Milwaukee. Can they?
If they got everybody healthy, on paper, they're not a bad little team. They really aren't. With an AG in there now, and Brunson has kind of elevated his game, and you get Randall. You get the guys coming off the bench. I mean, they're okay. I mean, if you took the Knicks A game and the Celtics B game, or the Bucks B game, then but you get the Celtics or Bucks B plus game even, and the Knicks B plus game, then no. You're going to need the other team to kind of come back to the pack, typical choke for the Celtics. But, and they win with defense, which, you throw a couple guys in the face of these players, they're not used to that stuff. They're not just going to be, okay, here, go take some shots, right? So, I give them a fighting chance. I do, more than I would have, a while ago. But,
okay.
I mean, ultimately, do I think they're going to win? No, I don't. But I think they could put up a little bit of a fight. I think they could take 2 games in a series against those clubs.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember what it was. Was it the transitive property? A squared plus B squared equals C squared? I think it was like that. I'd have to ask Matty G or one of the kids that took classes. I think that was it. But when you look at the conference odds, nobody's moving it. Like when you look at the Eastern Conference odds, it's Boston as a minus money favorite, and then Milwaukee. And then after that, there's a gap. It's the Knicks. And then, after that, it's Cleveland. Is that right? Cleveland? Yeah. Miami? Yeah. The Sixers number can't be high enough. There's nobody betting the Sixers to win the Eastern Conference again. And they're not betting it again. You could tell them Embiid's coming back. And I don't even know if he is, but you can bet anyone on that list. There's 3 teams you could bet on that list. It's Celtics, Bucks, and maybe the Knicks, but I think people are looking to bet the Heat. I think they're bypassing Cleveland too.
Yeah. I think Miami's the one, just because of their pedigree and what they've done before. Veteran team, poo-poo in the regular season, See, the Miami Heat, to me, are like the Tampa Bay Lightning in the NHL. The Lightning, to me, are the one team I also give a little bit of, Vasilevsky back there, maybe turn back the clock a little bit. A lot of veteran players, just kind of poo-poo in the regular season. We'll turn it on come playoff time. That's Miami, oddly enough, 2 Florida teams, but Miami and Tampa Bay. And that Miami team always gives the Celtics fits, right? If there's one team, they just as soon, I think, play the Milwaukee Bucks than they would the Miami Heat. They just seem to have their number. So, as a Celtic fan, that's the one team I don't want them. So let them lose to the Atlanta Hawks. Some dopey team will beat them, but they get like a good team. Then look out. They get that first win under their belt. That could spell trouble. So
2 games just tipped in the association: Washington and Memphis. Bad team. Just bet over. That's the only thing I could even think of to look at a play there. But Indiana is at OKC. And Indiana's out to a pretty good early start. I looked at that and thought that one might be a little bit light. And I really like what OKC's been doing. They're still battling for the 1 seed. This is one of those games where you look at, you go, all right, what is the number? Is it 6? Is it should be higher? There's a huge play against them. Indiana's out to a big start. K-Dub gave me this one too on Game Time Decisions. He has Holmgren over 3.5 first quarter points. Never bet an individual player prop in the first quarter points. But would that even be something that would hit your radar? Bet a guy's first quarter points?
What was his reasoning? It wouldn't, Sounds like a
he
modest
hit me
number.
with it on the way
2
out.
buckets.
I have no idea why he liked it. I have no idea. I don't know.
It's not bad, right? These starters are going to get, 8 minutes, you would think, in the first quarter. So they're going to get their minutes. it's 2 buckets. Can he get 2 buckets and 8-9 minutes of playing time? If the guy averages 20, 18 to 20 like he does. It's on average. But maybe he just thinks for some goofy reason he's going to come out flying tonight. Not a bad bet. I wouldn't jump off the page like it's supposed to be like 5, and he's saying, wow, I can't. Like, I'll give you one from last night. I'm glad you brought this up, Dave. Luka Doncic. Now, I know we have this running debate, and I say the boys in Vegas know, and you say they don't know, right? Okay.
Right.
So Luka averages close to 35 points a game. He's had 33 or more points in 5 straight games and 8 of his last 9 games. The guy's been on fire, right? You know what his number last night was? 32.5.
Oh, it was a little
Should
lower.
have been. Yes. Should have been 34.5, right? If not even 35.5, because these last 5 games have been like 35 points or more for the most part.
Right.
They gave me a 32.5. I'm like, you got to bet the over, right? I mean,
Did you
the
black
boys in
cloud
Vegas fell
special this
asleep.
one? Don't tell me you black clouded special this one.
I did.
Oh, no.
27 points he ends up with. They outscore the Bulls, what was it, 40-18 or something good, like 30 points in the first quarter, 44-16, I think it was.
Yes.
Game was over. Game was over.
Yes.
The one thing I counted on, like they're on the road, they're not going to blow anybody out.
They blew him out.
Somebody knew. 27 stinking points. He hasn't scored 27 points in 2 months.
When guys in the room see this stuff, they go against the number. They go, oh, you went over 35 points 5 times in a row. We got to make it lower because he ain't going to do it again. They like to be right that one time. That's what they do.
They were right, and I was wrong last night.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like this is the guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in. This is
they're
the Penn
always
State
going to
rule.
be better than the West half.
Yep.
And that 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
InGame Live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
InGame Live All Access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
InGame Live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
InGame Live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
welcome back. In-game live prime time right here on a Tuesday, hour number 1. Talking a little NBA. We'll look at the college basketball. If you're into small conferences, then you're in hog heaven right now. That is for sure. We'll check that out here in a little bit. But we do have a little SGP time. We were talking a little NBA. We got a game that's starting here shortly. So let's throw it out there and make some money with the boys in Vegas. All right, we're going to use the conspiracy hat to help us win some money tonight. We're going to go with the Houston Rockets taking on the pathetic San Antonio Spurs. Line did drop, but that's okay. We're going to take the Rockets. I got them actually minus the 3.5, but I know that says minus 110, but it's actually minus 3.5. We're going to lay the wood there on Houston. Then we're going to grab Jalen Green, 20-plus points. His number is 23.5. We'll go a little bit of a discount and kind of pay the price a little bit with minus 260. We're going to go with Fred VanVleet with 2 steals, even money. He gets 2 steals a game. In fact, he's played San Antonio rather, 3 times this year, and he's had 2 steals one game, 2 steals second game, 2 steals third game. So don't fight it, right? He's going to get 2 steals tonight. And then we're going to go with Dylan Brooks over 1.5 assists, minus 146. It's an NBA game. You can get, an assist just by sitting on the bench, for goodness sakes. He had 5 one game against Houston, 3 in another, so I'm not worried about that one at all. So add it all up, nice little fat plus 621. And the reason we're going with Houston, Dave, is the Spurs lead the 4th-place Charlotte Hornets by just 2 games for the 3rd worst record in the NBA. And there's 17 games left, and San Antonio has on their schedule Brooklyn, winnable, Memphis twice, winnable, Philadelphia, winnable, Detroit, winnable, Utah, winnable, Philadelphia, again, winnable, because, there's no Embiid. So there's some chances that they're going to start winning games, which is the last thing in the world Greg, Mr. Choke, and Mr. Tank Popovich wants. He's got to start losing so they stay in the number 3 slot. This way they're guaranteed a top 3 pick. You fall into the number 4 spot, and you could go, you could be drafted 8th, depending on the ping pong balls. So you want to stay in the top 3. That gives you the 3 best chances of getting the number 1 overall pick, which means, again, don't be surprised to see Wembanyama come down with some kind of mild strain. He's going to sit some games out. They're going to be losing games. Oh, yeah. He didn't spend 65 games getting his ass kicked for nothing. So I love Houston tonight. I don't care what the line says.
I heard you say put the conspiracy hat on. So I put my conspiracy hat on for the segment.
I like that.
I had it handy close by. And, wow, you really did a good job with that whole thing. That was, I got to be a full disclosure. I like San Antonio tonight before the game. I thought San Antonio was a live dog tonight. Houston on the road, despite the fact that their recent run,
they play better.
Good. Yeah, no, listen. I mean, I just saw that graphic. They're 5-0 ATS their last 5, and now that I hear the conspiracy thing, and I didn't know that at night, on your off nights, you're refereeing basketball and going to medical school and getting your medical degree, and you're able to talk about, possible Wembanyama strains and things like that might come up. I had no idea about all this. So other than Houston maybe not winning, that prop, can you get an assist from the bench? This is something new. I didn't know that you could do this in the NBA.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I really do. You just kind of wave to this official score and say, listen, I think I was in on that play. Weren't you down on the bench? Yeah, but you know what? I still helped the guy, so I put my leg out.
Can you imagine if there was second assist? If there was second assist in basketball? Oh, my goodness. Change everything.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Spurs, 6-15 against the spread when playing, now not obviously all this year, but 6-15 against the spread playing back-to-back nights in the second game. So they don't play well. They don't play well anyway, but they don't play well, especially back-to-back. So
as long as you don't black cloud this one. We got the black cloud coming up at the end of the hour. This is not the black cloud play, is it?
Oh, I got a good one tonight.
Oh,
no, this is not the black cloud. I got a real good one tonight.
Okay. All right.
I got a real good one.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Conspiracy
Boys in Vegas are going opposite of me on it, but that's okay. But
Really?
I like the Rockets. Yeah, for some reason. For some goofy reason. I'll let you know.
All right.
Getting into these college basketball tournaments. Well, I watched the end of Stony Brook and Hofstra last night, right? I used to do some play-by-play for Hofstra many moons ago, so I'm kind of tied into that program. Battle of Long Island, Stony Brook's on Long Island. And, Hofstra ended up losing, but I will tell you this. One, they did the same thing they did last year when they lost the conference game. They just stopped scoring. Their best player just couldn't shoot, right? So they're down 10, Dave. 36 seconds left. This is like the quintessential just never give up. Game's over. They're down 10, right? They hit a 3. They cut it to 7. Stony Brook turns the ball over. They hit another 3. They cut it to 4. They fouled. The kid misses a free throw. I think they cut it to 1, or they cut it to 3 again, right? I mean, this is all happening in the final 30 seconds. They foul. Up, they're down 3. They foul. The kid from Stony Brook at the free throw line misses the first free throw. So they've cut this 10-point deficit to 3. All they need is this one poor kid to miss a free throw, and they got a shot to tie the game, maybe go to overtime, right? He made the second free throw, so they lost by 4. But maybe one of the greatest comebacks. So game was over, down 10, 36 seconds left. So
we got a lot of guys behind the scenes that have some Hofstra ties too. And I was on, early with Game Time Decisions, and then I swung over to this show, and they were in my ear about Hofstra this, Hofstra that, Hofstra Pride, plus 360 to win it all. Stony Brook is just taking people out, and it's a fun thing. I'm locked in right now on Oakland and Milwaukee. There's 8 minutes left.
Okay,
it's a 1 seed versus a 6 seed. Oakland's up 60-58. With 8 minutes to go. It's a fun week. I love this week. I actually like this week more than next week overall because of the little schools get the bids. Not March Madness stuff, but this is a fun week.
Yeah. I like Milwaukee in that game. Dude, I watched the game last night. I forget who they were playing. But Milwaukee and who were they playing? Oh, no, not at Oakland's tonight. So Milwaukee was playing someone last night, and they were them and the other team were the preseason favorites to win the Horizon. So it didn't happen. Obviously, they finished as a 6th seed, but they're playing their best ball of the year. They've won 7 in a row, and they actually lost to this team twice, Oakland twice, by 4, and they were getting 4.5 today. So, the chance of beating a pretty good team as Milwaukee is 3 straight times is really tough. So I did like Milwaukee tonight. They're down a couple points, as you mentioned. See what the latest lines is on that. But I think they're actually going to win that game. When everything is said and done, I think they find a way to win the basketball game. So where are they, Dave? Yeah. They're not giving me lines on that one for some. Oh, there you go. They're getting 3.5, Milwaukee. So plus 182. I think they win. I think that's a pretty good money line bet. It's a 2-point game, and you're getting almost 2-1. By the way, even if you didn't like Milwaukee, you just said whatever. But Milwaukee, as I was saying before, they were supposed to win the conference, and they didn't. But it's not like this is a classic 16 that's just playing good ball. They're actually a really good team.
Just wanted to fill in all of our viewers on the K-Dub special. Chet Holmgren over 3.5 points in the first quarter. It is now 22 to 17. End of the first quarter. Chet had 3 in the first 5 minutes. It did not score again. He ended the quarter with 3. Those micro markets are tough. You want to talk about? I mean, it's a tough one. I was rooting for you, K-Dub, if you're watching. I told you I would give it to Wetzel, and we would talk about it. And I was hoping we could cash it so we could get one of those maybe tomorrow. But this is what happens,
what's
right?
weird
you make
about
a play
that
like that, and then you don't do it again. I think you shut it down.
I was going to say the same exact thing. Like, if you hit that, then you're like, oh, this is, what? Who needs to figure out who's going to win the game? I got that. You got to look at first quarter lines, right? I mean, this is great, But then when you lose it, you're like, did I just make a bet on a first quarter total on a player? Am I nuts? What am I, stupid? So
that's a gambler. You just talked through the gambler's logic right there. That's a guy that's been doing it for a little while, and you're like, you know what? This kid might know something here. I'm going to take a shot with this first quarter market, and then you do, and you don't win. There's people that won't look at that ever again after that loss. But you're right. If it would have won, you'd have been looking at the Milwaukee-Sacramento game later tonight. Going,
right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at this one. That's a high total. That game's going to go over. Give me some first quarter stuff. Right. Look, Sacramento by 3. The computer picked Sacramento by 3 over Milwaukee. Who's not playing for the Bucks? That's the first question I ask when I see that. Here's my conspiracy hat for you. What's that line? They don't beat them. That can't be right.
Milwaukee's playing good. I'll say this real quickly about Oklahoma City, just adding insult to injury. You know, that I'm venturing to guess Oklahoma City's 17 points are probably the fewest Indiana's given up in the first quarter all year. I mean, 22-17 for Indiana OKC. That had an over-under in the 230s, right?
Listen, I mean, it was already down. Like you just drove the truck back over, beat him, and the body was down. And you just
sorry, Kev. I mean...
The Bostonian versus the book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like this is a guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
Third,
this is the Penn State
rule. Be better than the West half.
Yep.
And that 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the book.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
InGame Live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the rim.
All I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome back. It is InGame Live, prime time right here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan for another hour and 20 minutes or so, talking some NHL, some football with our good buddy George Kurtz, who joins us now. What's going on, George? How are you tonight, my friend?
How am I tonight? Well, let's see. You mentioned the NFL, Cowboys. We don't need free agency. What's free agency? 5 starters down with drain. So, yeah, that's fun. NHL, okay. The Islanders won a 6-game winning streak, lost last night. Fine, no big deal.
Yeah.
Of course, then you find out today that, you realize the Islanders are the 3rd oldest team in the NHL. 3rd oldest, and their farm system is ranked dead last. That's not a good combination.
We didn't even mention the Yankees. That was good.
We didn't mention baseball, so I didn't have to bring up the fact that we're all jumping on, getting ready to jump off our roofs because Garrett Cole needs an arm amputation. Aaron Judge is already banged up, right? It's not even his toe. It's not even his toe. No, it's his rib. So it's March 12th here. The season's already over. I guess if you're a Yankee fan, I don't know. Go Giants.
What?
They don't
and they
don't
jump
talk
off
about
the page.
the Giants. Yeah, come on, give us some hockey. Let's stay with the hockey here for a minute, George. Come on, give us something positive because I got nothing in Pittsburgh. I mean, over the weekend, they lose Saturday, 4-1 to the Bruins, scored late, meaningless, shutout against Edmonton Sunday. They go to Ottawa today. It's 0-0 after 2. I'm with you. My team ain't making the playoffs. Your team probably not making the playoffs. Rangers in a battle.
Hey. Islanders are making the playoffs, buddy. Islanders are making the playoffs.
Oh, he's buying in now. He's buying in.
I didn't say they're going far in the playoffs, Scotty. I said they're making the playoffs. They'll lose in the first round of Carolina. But yeah, they're only 2 points behind Philadelphia with a game in hand. It'll be 4, I think. Oh, no, Philadelphia's tied now. I see here San Jose tied it.
Yeah.
So let's just say for giggles, Philadelphia does win the game. So they'll be 4 behind Philly with 2 games in hand there. So theoretically, they can catch them. And they've already passed Detroit, so they're already in a wild card spot. So the Islanders are looking actually kind of pretty to get in. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it'll matter if they finish 3rd in the division. I think the Rangers will win the division, so they'll lose to Carolina again. Same thing they lost to last year. If they finish in the wild card, it just means you lose to the Rangers or you lose to Florida. Not fun sailing either way for the Islanders, but I do think they'll get in the playoffs.
All right, how about tonight? You want to put some money on Pittsburgh, Ottawa? Got an over-under 2.5. You got no score. I did like Ottawa going in. I mean, how couldn't you, right? I mean, but at least Pittsburgh. The good news, bad news. The bad news is Pittsburgh hasn't scored, but the good news is neither is Ottawa. So, what do you think? Can we go Senators? Pittsburgh's actually a minus 122 favorite somehow or another right now.
Like you, Scotty, I was on Ottawa as well. I think Pittsburgh needs to be embarrassed. They've given up, right? I understand you're upset that you didn't go for it, but you didn't play well enough to go for it. All right, then you wanted to keep Gensel, but they couldn't keep everybody under the cap there, so you got to do what you got to do. But not to show up these last 3-4 games. I think that's an embarrassment, really an embarrassment here. Don't get me wrong, Ottawa's terrible, and they haven't really shown up great also. So it was a small play on Ottawa tonight and anything. I think Dave's right. What do we hope for? A 1-0 score here, 2-1. That 2-1 probably be the biggest score here, right? So I am leaning the under here. But Pittsburgh, you got Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Carlson. These are all Grizzlies vets. Just the play like this is just crap.
Yeah, and then you got the opposite. If you want to look at the in-game slate right now, the Sabres are up 7-2 in a hockey game, and it's the whole third period left. You can choose to lay 5.5 in a hockey game, which I can honestly say I may have only seen one time all season, or the total just flipped. They had 11.5, and it flipped while we were talking to 10.5 here in my book. But no, you're getting 3 more goals in this game. This is a 7-2 snooze fest, right? Both teams kind of agree to just let's move on. Let's dump the puck in the third period. The game goes under, right? In the old days, you might still see scoring and all this other stuff. And I don't know. It feels like a dead under if you can find an 11.5.
Find 11.5. That's an easy under, right? We'll take that. Detroit's playing once again, and they're not a team that's out of it, right? They were in a playoff spot, and you just wonder if the season's caught up to them, if they need to fail first before they can get in, because now they're just not playing well. They're playing very poorly, and they're letting up a truckload of goals. Talked about it with Carver this afternoon on Coast to Coast. I thought this was one of the easiest bets of the night to take the over. The original over, I think, was more than likely 6.5 there, right? They got that, after the opening face-off? All right, so Detroit can't stop anything. They just, for whatever reason, Reimer, Lyon, doesn't matter. They can't stop the puck at all here. I think they're feeling the pressure there, Dave. I think they're feeling the pressure, trying to get to the playoffs here. It's amazing, Buffalo. They play well now. Your season's over. Right now, your season's over. You're playing great. But a little late there, boys. But they can score goals here. And Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I love that name, by the way. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is playing very well.
Right off your tongue. You're kind of showing off by saying it multiple times. Say it one more time.
Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Kind of like Reho. Now I had it. Now I'm going to lose it.
Reho Russalainen.
Reho Russalainen.
There you go.
Reho Russalainen. Come on.
Yeah, man, I had it. I should have just spurred it out.
So they said.
Yeah. All right, Rangers 1-0 over Carolina. 3.5 is the total, plus 158 if you want to go over. After 2, plus 210 on Carolina. Take a flyer on the Hurricanes?
I'm already on the Hurricanes. All right, so really thought Rangers played last night, had a nice game against the Devils here. You figure back-to-back nights against a good team. And this is a big game for Carolina. If they want to catch the Rangers over the division, this is almost a must-win game. One of those 4-point games here. So, to not scoring any goals tonight, Shesterkin playing great again. By the way, if Shesterkin has figured it out, he's going to play like this the rest of the season, and I mean into the postseason, Rangers are not going to be an easy out. They're not going to be an easy out at all here. I don't care if they didn't do much at the deadline here. I think I'm going to stay away. I think Shesterkin right now, he's just in one of those zones where he's hard to beat. I'll take my loss with Carolina. I was on the under as well, so it'll be a 50-50 split here. But I thought Carolina would just have a little bit more juice tonight, especially activating Jake Gensel, their big acquisition prior to the deadline for tonight's game.
George, I got the Mike Modano on right now to kind of combo the Stars and the Wild, both up 1-0 right now after the first period. Like them both. Hopefully the Wild win in regulation. But we got 2 games later. The Avalanche are playing the Flames, and the Knights, Vegas Golden Knights, after this game, they're going to the Kraken. I'm looking at these numbers going, I can't believe this. This feels like the Kraken is the play. You got chalk. You could go, Knights and put it with the Avalanche. I know you like to do that sometimes with these money lines. But one of these dogs winning, Avalanche have been so good at home. Flames, what are we doing with these games?
No Markstrom tonight for the Flames. All right, Markstrom's out, so they're going with Vladar. Darth Vader there will be in net for the Calgary Flames. Markstrom, I think he's a lower body injury, nothing serious, but he's not playing tonight. You said it though, Dave. Avalanche are a different team on the road. They're much better at home here. That being said, I think they take care of business tonight. I do. All right, and sooner or later, the fact that Calgary has traded everybody away has to affect this team. And you don't have Markstrom tonight? I think tonight's the night. I think Colorado goes in there and maybe even stampedes them there a little bit. I'm going to lay the 170. I'm not bad. The Vegas Golden Knights are just playing poor. They're just playing poorly right now. I don't know when that changes. I'll take Seattle. I will take the underdog tonight. You should be so proud of me. I'll take Seattle the under here. Eichel's come back here 3 points this last game, so I think he's getting into the groove of things, but they still haven't replaced Mark Snow. Anthony Mantha's not your answer there. Thomas Hertl, maybe he says 2 to 3 weeks he returns here. Great, we'll see what he can become then. But I think this team is still going to struggle to score goals here. Defensively, they should be good. Goaltending should be good. But I think this is going to be one of those 4-2 games for Seattle. Maybe that fourth goal coming on an empty netter.
How about Arizona, Minnesota? Dave and I were talking earlier. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, Minnesota, and then I think it was Nashville. Pretty sure Nashville went to overtime. Yeah, right. And Minnesota actually pulled their goalie, George, in overtime, won the game. But the rules stay: if you pull your goalie in overtime because it's only 3 aside, and you lose, you don't get the point. You risk that 1 point by pulling the goalie. Now they ended up winning, but. Pretty shrewd. They're 6 points behind the final playoff spot in the West, so they couldn't afford to only get out of there with 1 point. They got possession of the puck. They pulled the goalie. I like it. I like them tonight. Oh, by the way, against Minnesota, and Dave suggested, taking them in regulation, which is a good bet. Dropped it from 2-1 to minus 135, and they're up 1-0. But did you see that? Your thoughts on that and anything on tonight's game?
My first thought when I was watching the game was, oh, yeah, forgot that's the rule. You know, you sort of forget that that's the rule where if you pull the goalie, you lose, you don't get the loser point. I thought once there were about 19 games up, I think, when they did this. I thought that was a little early to pull this. You know, it's not a quarter of the season. Not like it was 10 games. Okay, we got to pull it. We don't care anymore. We need the extra point here. So that was my first thought. That it was maybe a little early, but I like it. I'd much rather see a coach be more ballsy than have no guts whatsoever. So good for him for doing it. It paid off. Boldy scored the goal there, and you win the game. I'm curious now. The same thing happens tonight. Does he do it again? What about Thursday night? What's going to happen the next time? Assuming it's in the next near future, next couple of games, will he do it again? Because now we'll be waiting for it. We'll be watching it, right? And it won't catch anybody by surprise either. For him to do it. So I wonder if he'll do it again if it happens in the near future. That being said, though, I love Minnesota tonight.
Well, if it catches anybody by surprise, definitely shoot it out, maybe on the Twitter, and let us know. Or George, if you see it, shoot me a text and let me know, because that's something that I don't think the algorithm is paying any attention to, and that drastically would swing the odds one way or the other. If I was doing the game in game, I would change the number drastically the other way with an empty net. Catching anybody by surprise. The Dallas Cowboys are not catching anybody by surprise, George, with this free agency. Like, what is going on? What was the biggest free agent move that someone else did? I can't ask you about your team because they didn't get anybody. So is there something that, either hit today, yesterday, that like jumped out to you and went, wow, that's going to really help this team?
Well, I think that's got to be Kirk Cousins, right? Goes to Atlanta. In that division, I mean, you're only fighting against Carolina's a mess. New Orleans with Derek Carr, they're a disaster. So it's pretty much you're the best quarterback in the division. You and Baker Mayfield, I think it's a great move for Atlanta. You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. We'll see what Kyle Pitts is going to become now. You have a real quarterback and a coach that actually might use you. But I think it's a great move for Atlanta. I don't think this makes you a Super Bowl contender. Don't get me wrong. But I certainly think they're at least a playoff contender, and certainly for the division. So I like what they've done here. As far as the Cowboys are concerned, guys, I'm going upstate this weekend. I'm going to compete in the World Series of Poker, a circuit event there. My definition of all-in is a little different than Jerry Jones's definition of all-in. Okay, because you've done nothing. A big fat zero there, Jerry, which is not a shock. Dallas never gets involved in free agency, at least not the early parts of free agency. We'll see what they do later. But Dave, Scott, if you guys want to tote the rock, Dallas is looking for a running back. And they're pretty much at the bottom of the barrel here. You might want to put in your application to the Cowboys, care of Jerry Jones.
I thought they were going to go after, maybe they did, Derrick Henry or one of the others, but they must have got outpriced. What's your over-under, by the way, and how long you last? How many hours, how many days?
It's a one-day tournament. So it starts at 10 o'clock. I'm patient. It doesn't mind me folding for an hour and a half straight if I don't get what I have. 2 o'clock, 4 hours.
All right, there you go. World Series of Poker.
Under minus a quarter.
I'm going over.
The Bostonian versus the book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like this is a guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
Third,
this is the Penn
always
State
going to
rule.
be better than the West half.
Yep.
And that 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the book.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA, And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
In-game live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart Team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
In-game live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
In-game live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. It is In-Game Live Prime Time right here on the grid. Wrapping up hour number 1. Thanks again for George Kurtz joining us, as he always does, right here on our In-Game Live. And what we also do right here on In-Game Live, give you a nice little Black Cloud play of the day. Time for that now. All right, we're going to go to the hockey board. Game just underway, about 10 minutes in, and there's no score, so don't worry about having to get a late number or anything along those lines. It's basically the same thing. The Chicago Blackhawks, Dave, hosting the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Oh, yes, tickets being scalped for thousands for this game, no doubt about it. But you know what? If it's a game, we can play it, and we got a great angle for you. The Chicago Blackhawks beat Arizona their last game.
Yes, they did.
So what, you may say? We're not betting that game, right?
No, we're not.
Well, I will tell you this, Dave. The Blackhawks this year are 1-13.
That's not good.
After getting a win. They have only won 2 games in a row, once all year, and in those games, they've been outscored, the second game, 59-20, an almost 3-to-1 ratio. They also scored 5 goals. You know how many times they've scored 3 goals or more in back-to-back games this year?
I'll guess
4.
1 time. That's it?
Yeah, no, it's more than that. It's more than that.
Okay.
4 out of 65 games, they've only scored 3 goals. Not 4 or 5, 3 goals or more. So this has got 3-1 Anaheim written all over it. Double your bet, triple your bet. Love the Ducks, even though they're now underdogs.
This is the Ducks are up 1-0. I hate that. I mean, I don't even want to get started. The Ducks they're up 1-0. I don't even want to talk about it the rest of the hour. I don't want to talk about it on the next hour. We can't mention this again. It's unspoken.
End the game now. It's over.
smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Yeah, welcome back InGame Live PrimeTime. So much for that. You know, it took us 10 seconds to have a 1-0 lead evaporate as the Blackhawks just scored. Less than a minute later, they actually had a power play, and Anaheim scored shorthanded, so it's not as crazy as it might sound, but still, it's still the
Rain
Blackhawks. Put it on.
The rain
Put
hat
it on.
for the score. I mean, this is unbelievable. We go to break. It's 1-0. That's a quick break. It's very quick.
Yeah.
We turn it around quick. Matty G brings us right back, and it's 1-1. We're not talking about it anymore. For those of you that missed it, the Black Cloud play of the night is the Anaheim Ducks. Scott gave all the reasons. It was all very, very sound argument. We'll put this big hat away so I can see you the rest of the segment after we get to Coach, because I can't I'll leave this on for Coach, actually, because he's coming up soon. Did you see, I mean, while we're talking about storms and black clouds and rain and things happening, Oakland just won. They beat Milwaukee.
Oh, really?
83-76.
Oh,
That would be win by 7. They covered after not covering the whole game. You want to talk about, listen, I tell you all the time, nobody knows Squadouche. The boys in Vegas don't know any more or any less. The odds makers are good at their job. This week and next week is some of the best Rembrandts, Picassos, Donatellos. The numbers are so tight. This closed at 6.5. They win by 7. You're going to come down to a bucket here and a bucket there. If you're not used to betting on basketball and college basketball, you better make sure you're in good shape. Make sure you have all your medications up to date. Make sure everything's good, because you're going to have a lot of sweats and a lot of back and forth. Like, whew, I just won that one. Or you're asking yourself, you know, boy, how did they get that number so close? This is really, I'm telling you, this is some of the best work that I've ever seen odds makers and book guys do. This week, conference tournament week, and next week, first week of March Madness. Tough to win. Tough numbers.
Tough. Yeah. I tell you, I'm not afraid to say it. I hate this week. I know so many gamblers. Oh, it's great. You got games on in the afternoon, this, that, what have you. I've been doing it too long. You can't win. You can't win this week. Next week, I love. This week, forget about it. You got too many goofy games. You know, they're all these teams are all road teams. You know, for the most part, they're all playing on neutral sites.
Yeah.
So they're both traveling. Okay. There's no great fan bases. There's no kids in the stands. There's no end of that nonsense. It just levels the score. I mean, I try and just say I look for dogs, you know, because the dogs seem to win out to me or cover a lot more. You don't get blowouts in these things. And the numbers are all inflated, but we know who bets dogs, right? Nobody. We all want to bet the favorites, and you get great numbers on favorites that are like, man, you're only laying 4.5 against a team that was 6-6 in conference play, and then you find out they win by 3. It's like, how? Yeah, I hate it. I really do. I don't like it because I'll bet it, but I know I'm going to lose. You give me 10 games, I'll go 2-8 when everything's said and done. Like Milwaukee. Love Milwaukee.
The ebbs and
Love
flows.
them today.
The ebbs and flows of, like, so the big conference tournaments start today and tomorrow, right? And we'll talk to Coach about that. The early games, it's dogs. And then as it progresses to the end, a lot of times the favorite wins and they cover because it just catches up to the dog, especially 3 games in 3 nights. Or, you know, and now some of these conferences, these teams have double buys. I mean, the game's at the Orleans. It's getting ready to start right now. Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Best game of the night, maybe on paper. And it's another one of those games that, I mean, I think you can really, this number got to 3.5 earlier today and sat all day. Maybe bounce back to 3. They both have double buys. I don't even know what a double bye is, but I know that means they fly in on Sunday. They played a semifinal game yesterday and the championship game today. I've lived in Vegas 21 years. They've been playing this tournament here at the Orleans this long. This is a Gonzaga Invitational forever. 3.5. Wetzel. It's Zags tonight, right? What, Zags right now? Yes? No?
You would
Yes?
think, right? I mean, they just whacked them at St. Mary's last week, too. Embarrassed.
Right?
St. Mary's they scored a bunch of points late, but they had like 30 points with like 5 minutes left. I mean, they couldn't score against Gonzaga. So if you want to go by history and then all the other, wins that Gonzaga has. But I like the over, even though they played twice and both games have gone under. I don't have enough confidence in St. Mary's to say, give me St. Mary's, because they were embarrassed at home last week. But I think they're going to come out playing better. They have to, and that's going to lead to points. So I'm going to go, I gave the boys on the podcast the over 138.5.
Okay.
What do you like?
All right. I swear nobody's playing better than the Zags right now. I think their team total over. I like that. I like the Zags in the game. We'll keep an eye on the total in game. We got this thing coming up here. I mean, you're going to set this up. What do we got coming up here?
Yep, little alternate universe time as we change the lines here in an NBA game and see if we can get some odds in our favor. Yes, little alternate universe time. This is where we go to the books and they let you adjust the lines, either plus or minus. So you can either lay a little bit more and get a better line, or you could lay even more and get a better line as far as getting a 10 versus getting 15, or getting laying 10 versus laying 5. So we got Minnesota and the LA Clippers squaring off here in a little while. So why don't we use that game as our alternate universe? Adjusted lines or totals. You could do either one on FanDuel anyway. So there are the numbers, Dave. Anything as we scroll through this here a little bit? I'm not sure who I like. Probably the Clippers, but they've been playing lousy basketball. Late 2-8 against the spread their last 10. Maybe Minnesota goes out there and actually wins. So I'll take a flyer on Minnesota, even though I hate betting on them. Let's see what dumb thing they do tonight.
Who says they hate betting on Minnesota?
They did another stupid thing. They did another dopey thing this weekend. What did they do? 4 games ago, it was they were taking shots up 9 with a minute and a half left and not running play, time off the clock. Then they took a dunk shot, with 2 seconds left when they were down 3. Nice play. Then their best player, Anthony Edwards, decided he was going to show up for the start of the game because he forgot what time the game started.
Had a little issue.
And then,
had an issue.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, yeah. And then what they do the other day? They did something else stupid. What was it?
You're making this sound like
Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert getting a technical foul with 1 second left, or in the final seconds.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We'll come up with something. We'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll give you the alternate universe numbers here with the coach.
The Bostonian versus the book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like this is the guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
Third,
this is the Penn State
rule. Be better than the West half.
Yep.
And that 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the book.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
InGame Live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
InGame Live All Access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
InGame Live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
InGame Live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back InGame Live, prime time, right here on the grid as we go back to our alternate universe as we check out the Minnesota-LA Clippers game tonight. One of the better games, the marquee games for tonight. So I'm going to go with 2 of them here, Dave. I'm going to grab Minnesota. I'm going to say they win outright. I'm going to lay up to 4.5, grab the plus 280. I won't push it too much, but if they're going to win, okay, then maybe they win by 5, 6, 7. I could see that, and then. The over-under, as I was telling you in the break, I mean, these numbers are so low now. It's kind of hard because how low do you want to go? But I do think this is going to be like a playoff atmosphere. It's on TNT tonight. So give me the under 204.5 at 2-1 and get a 100 to 94 type of Minnesota win. So under 204.5 at 2-1 and then Minnesota laying 4.5 at plus 280.
Sometimes we're in lockstep, unison. We're dancing when we talk. I'm with you with the Minnesota. I'm good with just 3.5 if you think they're going to win. But I like taking the points if you can get that number there. I like the total, but I like the opposite of you. Opposite picks is your name. I got guys like Wrong Side Robbie and Z Fan are texting me right now about some other business, and they're watching the show and they said they love it. But this game's going over. This game's going way over. And I said, this is perfect because I'm in the alternate universe. So I'm looking around 220.5. I think I saw Matty G put that number up there at about a plus almost 2-1 at around a 220.5. So we get that thing, move it 5 points. Don't recommend doing the basketball teasers, but the alternate universe, that's not a bad play. That's not a bad play. I think more this game and the last game, I'm thinking more overs than unders. So, that's for, again, Wrong Side Robbie, Z Fan, for you boys. You can play it if you like. Stay tuned. Watch the rest of the show because JY's coming in once we get his mic ready. I can't wait to see what he thinks about the games tonight, both in the NBA and in college.
All right. Did they give a reason why they thought there were going to be some points tonight? Just because it was TV game, maybe?
Listen, Wrong Side Robbie, sometimes he just sends me these things, and a lot of times he's on the wrong side. That's how he got his nickname, as opposed to our guy, Donnie, right side. So sometimes when he gives me that side, it's usually fade, go the other way. But Z-Fan's on it. And they don't give you reasons. Like I told you, I worked in the books for over 25 years. Never asked why. Just needed to know what the play was. They're on that level basis with me. And when they send it to me, I just say, okay, we move on.
Makes sense. All right. So there you go. I could be talked off the under. I just threw it out there just because I figured it's going to be a low-scoring game, but we'll see. But I do like Minnesota. I think they're going to find a way to get the win tonight. As long as no one gets any stupid technical fouls, as long as everyone realizes the game starts at 10 o'clock, not 10:30.
Making it personal.
Just
make it personal.
They make it hard to bet them. They really make it real hard to bet.
You don't like
I mean, it's just like
that's not good.
Knicks by 20. Didn't do my math right. Knicks by 26 tonight. All right, 87-61. Wow.
You got to bring this guy in.
Right,
He's still got a stinger. You got to bring him in.
Yes. Got to bring him in. Let's talk to Coach James Young.
Let's go.
Ooh, a new stinger.
Oh, that's an old
I didn't
stinger.
even know I still had a stinger. Good gentlemen, good evening.
Yes.
How are you? Good to be on.
You, sir. Shalom.
Good
to see you.
And that's
Shalom.
a new one, isn't it?
No, that's an
old
old one.
It's a little different.
It's the old one. It's we just haven't seen it in like a year or so.
Oh, okay.
Listen, it's good to be on with you guys. It's a fun time of the year. Hopefully more time with Coach with you guys on because we're in the middle of March, which means got some intriguing college basketball games already tipped off and games that are still yet to be played the rest of the week, and then we have a pretty good NBA card tonight.
Yeah, we do. It's great to see the stinger. But listen, you got your guy Matty G on the wheels of steel. He knows where the files are. He knows where the bodies are buried. He went and found that, said we finally got JY on with us on, in-game live primetime. So we got to pull out all the stops. I'm wearing this hat because it's a storm. All right. We had the Black Cloud play of the night. There's just an onslaught of information, basketball, all this stuff. I'm out in Vegas. You know that. I had a spot for you. I was going to pick you up at the airport and take you to the West Coast Conference game, but you're too busy now. You're too busy on the East Coast. Give me the winner of this basketball game, JY. This is Gonzaga playing their best basketball of the season right now. Short number, 3.5 to tip. Total 138.5. Felt light, but what'd you see with this one?
I actually did something I normally wouldn't do. I took Gonzaga on the money line, even though it was about 170. Usually I would stop at 150, but Dave, this is going to be such a tight, contested game. Both teams are should be, especially with the run that the Gonzaga had, beating San Francisco twice, neutral court at San Fran, beat one at St. Mary's. They should be comfortably in, but I thought this was going to be a really close contest, so I took Gonzaga on the money line. Right now, good start by St. Mary's. But I do think Gonzaga is playing, I would dare to say, as good as anybody in the country so far. Not tonight, but so far, as good as anybody in the country.
Are we talking national championship? Dave and I are going to do our teams that can't win because they always lose 3-team parlay tomorrow. So are we talking on that level, Coach, or just they're playing good ball?
They're playing good ball. I don't think they're going to win a national championship. Right now, they just took a timeout because they're getting sliced up early on. But to me, when you look at the championship board, obviously, UConn and Houston to me have separated themselves even from a Purdue. As you start going down the line here, guys, Tennessee, not a big believer in. Arizona, I don't even know. Honestly, guys, I wouldn't be shocked if USC beat them in the Pac-12 tournament. I think USC got them last weekend. And let's be honest, folks, USC was a team that before the season started, we thought could win the Pac-12. They just had a horrible year. But you guys know, we saw it happen with Georgetown. We saw it happen with Kemba Walker. You get hot at the right time, you can win 4 in a row. It can happen. So I'm not a big believer in a team like Tennessee or Arizona. Auburn, intriguing. UNC, because they got rid of Caleb Love, I think they're intriguing. But to me, guys, guard play wins. What team has the best overall guard play? It's Kentucky. It's Kentucky. They're
Whoa.
deep. They got 6 guards. And listen, guys, you get 2 out of 6 cooking on any given night, that's enough to go win you a game. The problem with them is on the defensive end of the floor. But they've shown games, right, like the game at Auburn, where they can play some defense. Cal's kids value play, not value in regards to blue blood, value just by sheer their odds. I think they can make a run.
We'll get to the NBA in the next segment. We got some college we got to keep focusing on here right now. We got to stay on point, stay on the rundown. But you're a New York, New Jersey guy. You know the city. Manhattan's playing Iona. K-Dubs earlier tell me it's Iona's time. They're trailing right now to Manhattan. Siena is getting a gigantic number at Niagara later. Give me some Metro Atlantic. Give me some opinion. Give me something I can use, please.
I like the 2 favorites in the matchup tonight, so I do like Iona to come back, and I do like Niagara. Remember, Dave, it's being played at Albany, so it's all neutral site. It is a pseudo-home game for Siena at the Pepsi Center, but I still think that Iona will come back. So if you can get a good line right now, I still think they come back and win this game.
All right. We'll leave it at that. We'll take a break. Maybe when we come back, Stony Brook will have knocked off Charleston in the CAA championship. We'll double-check that. Down 4. Ooh, they just hit a shot. Down 4 with 10 seconds left. Looks like Charleston's going to advance. All right, NBA look when we come back in Game Live, PrimeTime.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like
This
is the guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
Third,
this is the Penn State rule.
Be better than the West half.
Yep.
That 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Brooks are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
InGame Live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
InGame Live All Access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart Team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
InGame Live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
InGame Live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
welcome back. In-game live, prime time, right here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan, talking with the coach, James Young, who joins us for a second segment. We concentrate on the NBA. Let's just rattle through these games here, Coach. We were talking in the break. Knicks all over Philadelphia. That was the easiest play on the board. 89-64 after Sunday's debacle by the Knicks, right? I mean, I don't know if you want to lay 22.5 at this point. 191.5 is your over-under, but not surprised with the Knicks' supposed victory tonight, right?
No, I took the Knicks minus the points pregame. I thought this was an easy spot for a New York team to bounce back. You got to remember, folks, the Knicks have played the Sixers, and they have beaten them. Take away the last game. All right, take away the last game. The Knicks have beaten up Philadelphia this year. There was the game that without Randall, I think they went there and they won by like 30 on the road. They have another, I think, 20-point win. So I expected this tonight out of New York. Maybe you thought, Max would give him a little bit of a boost. Kelly Oubre also ran his mouth a little bit too much at MSG. New York was ready for him tonight. This was an easy one to pick with the Knicks all over Philadelphia.
Is it time to sound the alarm for the Thunder? They're trailing the Pacers. You're getting them plus 3.5. That game, they were 6-point favorites. Or is it time to maybe pile up and all in on the Celtics at the Jazz? Either one of those interests you tonight. The Celtics really finishing this road trip tonight, laying a number. They were laying a big number last night at Portland. I got to talk to Peralta every day with the Celtics basketball team, Coach. They just keep winning. I mean, it never stops. It never stops.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I took in Pascal Siakam over 3.5 assists. I know you went over one of the last 5 games, but I thought this game, guys, was going to be about pace. And it's exactly what I thought. 240 was way too low of a number for this game. This game was going to get up and down, which it has so far, 73-64, about midway through the third quarter. I also looked at Siakam over his assists. I looked at also Obi Toppin over his points at 7.5. I thought this was a good spot for Obi. It correlates, right? 2 teams that run. Where does Obi excel? In transition, leak out, dunks. Who can get him the ball? Someone like Pascal Siakam. So I kind of put those 2 together. So I'm shocked by the score in regards to the margin right now being a 9-point game. I'm not shocked by it being 137 points early in the second half.
Grab an OKC or at plus 2.5 on the money line, plus 138, only third quarter, midway through.
Well, it's definitely going to be a game that's going to be one of runs. But to me, I think the safer way of looking at it right now is the over-under's at 235. I think Oklahoma City's going to make a run. I don't know if they come back and win this game, but the line tells you at plus 2.5, they think a run's coming, right? FanDuel's plus 2.5 at even money. They think a run's coming. The run's not going to come with them getting stops. The run's going to come with them scoring the ball. So to me, over 235.5 would be the play that I would be looking at right now in this game.
Late games coming up before we get to these trends and all this other stuff. Clippers at home against the Timberwolves. All right, the computer's picking the Clippers by 7. We went to the alternate universe. Me and Wetzel both ended up on the T-Wolves side. I like the game to go over. I think they both go up and down the court and get 220 points at least, but kind of talked Wetzel off the total. He kind of waffled a little bit. The other game is the Bucks in Sacramento. Got a friend named Trista who does a lot of content, and she put out a tweet that the Sacramento Kings are 0-15 in their last 15 games against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, they only play twice a year, but that's a long time. This thing says Sacramento by 3. Any opinion, either one of those, JY?
I do like the Bucks to win outright against Sacramento. I think this is a big spot for them. They had the beginning of this road trip not go according to plan, that 35 or 36-point loss that they had to Golden State. Then they go to the Lakers without LeBron, and they lose outright there too. Come back with the win. I think Sacramento is kind of trending the wrong way. I know they're 6-4 the last 10. That 22-point blown lead in the fourth quarter against Chicago has just bothered me about this team. Also, look at the fact that Keegan Murray, who's had a really good year, is out. So now another guy has to step up. I do like Giannis is probable. I do like the Bucks to win outright. And to me, I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to go with the Timberwolves as well. I think they can win. I think, honestly, guys, I wouldn't be stunned if they won this game. They have not played well since, obviously, the Cat injury. I think with having Kyle Anderson as starting lamb in the forward spots, along with Jaden McDaniel, I think it actually helps them defensively going against PG and Kawhi. Because sometimes you play Kawhi as a small ball 4. This is a better matchup for them. And I think Rudy Gobert will be able to do some damage inside against Ivica Zubac. I'm going to go ahead and take the Timberwolves plus the points, sprinkling them on the money line to win outright.
Do we have confidence in them, Coach, to really make a serious run? I won't say win it all, but, listen, they're going to battle for the number 1, 2, or 3 seed, right? I mean, these last 4 games Dave and I talked about, they have made mental mistakes in 4 straight games, whether it's a technical foul, whether it's shooting a 2 when you're down 3, whether it's not showing up to start the game, whether it's not running time up the play clock. I mean, I don't know. They seem to be some of the dumbest basketball players, basketball acumen-wise, that I think I've ever seen that's actually pretty good.
Well, Minnesota's immature. I think this is why if you pull up the graphic here with the odds to win the Western Conference, they weren't 13-1 before Cat, but they were still behind Denver, the Clippers, Oklahoma City, and Phoenix. It's just they were closer to Phoenix before the injury, right? So to me, they lack maturity. They lack mental toughness. I'll tell you this right now. Think about this. If they get into a 7-game series, right? Think about this. If they get into a 7-game series, do you favor them over the Clippers? No. New Orleans? No. Phoenix? No. Dallas? No. Lakers? No. Golden State? No. The only team I think that you favor them over is Sacramento. I listen. I will say this: maturity. This is the same team that was so concerned with Karl-Anthony Towns scoring that they blew a lead for him to try to get 70 points. And the coach had to call him out after the game. Like that, and the maturity, folks, is more than just the players. It's the coach too. He hasn't been in this spot before. I mean, they're an immature bunch, and I thought that they needed more at the deadline in regards to, like, they could have used a Gordon Hayward, right? They could have used, honestly, I hate to say it, a Pat Beverly. They need more adults in the room. They don't have it. I think they're in trouble. They're already the 3 seed. Guys, they could be tied to loss column tonight and be the 4 seed if the Clippers win. They're in trouble.
There you go.
They're in deep trouble.
Right. Well, Wetzel, you made your case for you right there. Ain't got to worry about the cross the Timberwolves off the list.
Can't spell cat. You spotted the K and the T. Simple as that.
The teacups are back. They're back.
Teacups are back. There you go, Coach.
But guys, the West is really going to – I will say this. The East and the West are going to become really intriguing down the stretch because I am not from the Donnie Wright side school of thought. I think you don't want any part of the play-in tournament. So you got between New Orleans and Golden State 5 games separating those teams. Now, if you take away New Orleans, you got 3 games separating Phoenix, Sacramento, Dallas, Lakers, Golden State, right? You go to the Eastern Conference right now, right? Let's say, obviously the Knicks are going to win. Philadelphia's going to have 29 losses. So you have the Knicks with 27, Orlando 28, Philadelphia 29, Indiana 29, Heat 29. Like, this is going to come down to the stretch. And, folks, a great way to look at it, look at Tankathon and look at strength of schedule. That's a good precursor of what you may see down the stretch of the season. Who's got the toughest opponents? And guess who's got the easiest opponents? Easiest schedule. The Boston Celtics have the easiest strength of schedule the rest of the way. They're just going to roll teams the rest of the way, guys.
Yeah, I went through their schedule. Matt and I did their schedule today. It's a joke. They got the Pistons twice. They got the Hornets twice.
They got 44 points in the first quarter?
Yeah.
Without
What?
three of their
No
best
good?
players playing. Oh, by the way, no Porzingis and Brown and Horford tonight. So can we buy into the Lakers?
No.
Dare I even
They don't
ask?
have enough perimeter shooting. I will say this. Utah folks should be an automatic fade the rest of the year. This is the second. They were 6-18 against the spread, I do believe, second half of the year last year. They tailed off. Danny Ainge wants to rebuild from the draft because nobody wants to go play in Utah. They got to get it with draft picks. For them, they are just a tank waiting to happen. All of a sudden, you've seen since Walker Kessler now coming off the bench. No Laurie Marketing. Like, this team is tanking. They're playing their young kids. They are bad. They are really, really bad.
Just saw it right there. 7-2-1 in their last 10. The Celtics are. This is going to be a long night.
Utah, they were actually halfway decent there for a little while, and they just decided, that was
Same
it.
thing last year. Same thing last year.
Exactly.
And real quick, last year, and remember, they got hot before the break and then tailed off. Same thing this year with Utah. Fade them.
Yeah. Coach, great job as always. We'll check you out tomorrow.
Excellent.
Coach filling in on Coast to Coast. Good job, Coach. Check it out.
Shooting. Can't shoot.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like this is a guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need
This
to
Penn
find
State's
a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
Third,
This is
they're
the Penn
always
State
going to
rule.
be better than the West half.
Yep.
That 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Brooks are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA. And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
InGame Live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
InGame Live All Access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
InGame Live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
InGame Live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live, prime time, right here on the grid. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan, just checking out some NBA, a little college basketball, a little hockey as well. I will say, into this NBA, Dave, Indiana, OKC, boy, back and forth they're going. This is a good in-game live type of situation where, you bet the underdog, and then 2 minutes later they're now winning. Then you bet the underdog on the other side. You can flip-flop back and forth because Pacers were up. Then OKC grabbed the lead before we went to break. And they were a monster favorite, because they are the favorites in the game heading in. And now Indiana's got the lead back 93-87, and now they're a 2-1 favorite. So if you have the due diligence, you can just look at that game and go back and forth and keep on popping on the underdog and give it 5 minutes, and you'll be 5 times on OKC as a dog and 5 times on Indiana as a dog when everything is said and done.
You sound like you've actually reached a page in my playbook. This is what I love to do that. This is good for business when it goes back and forth like that, and you have different variables and things. I can't stand the NBA games that a team gets an early lead and just runs away with it, and they end 25 points
Knicks,
up.
Philly.
Let's go back and forth a little bit. This is opportunity for people watching a show, making plays, and setting themselves up for good middles. So I love that.
Celtics winning big. Speaking of teams blowing out other teams, no Horford tonight, no Jaylen Brown, no Porzingis, and they're still up 15 on a back-to-back against the Utah Jazz. 247. Those are almost like unbettable, those games. Is Utah really going to come back? Probably not.
Probably not.
That's a tough.
They may have one run in them, but now they have to, that you need a sustained multiple runs, and it's probably not happening. Just check the finals. The Senators beat the Penguins 2-1. At least the Penguins scored, but the game went over that 2.5 in game. So that's final. Rangers beat the Hurricanes. Telling you, boys, get ready for a playoff Stanley Cup run in New York. I think the Rangers are for real. I really, really do. They can play both ways, and they keep winning these low-scoring games. This is one of those things. Now, they may need to find a way to get power play goals in the playoffs, but I'm telling you, those futures are live. And then the Flyers won 3-2. So that's, for Kurtz's Islanders trying to chase them and get in the playoffs. Do you really think the Islanders are going to make the playoffs? Now, I don't want to talk about Kurtz while he's gone, but the Islanders aren't making the playoffs. How do I tell him? When he comes on the show, I love George, but George, they're not making the playoffs. They're not, right?
Yeah. Every team has its peaks and valleys, right? Except the Chicago Blackhawks. Every team. And they're going through one of those peaks right now, which is great. It got them back in contention.
Stop mentioning the Blackhawks.
Yeah, that's true.
I didn't
mention the game. I just mentioned the Blackhawks. So right now the Islanders are going through one of those peaks. They had won 6 in a row, and they got themselves in that final playoff spot in the East. But there's just a natural regression for a team that's just not that good. I would not have predicted that they were the third oldest team in the NHL. I don't think of the Islanders that way.
No.
That tells you a little something, though, right? As George was mentioning. If you're the third oldest team, you better be, really good. You could be this bad being the third youngest because, you're building. But if you're that old and you still can't make the playoffs, basically, or fighting for a playoff spot, time to unload. Time to start all over.
All right, I'll mention it because we only got 15 minutes until we pass this thing off to Morency and the Sports Rage. But the Ducks are tied 2-2 with the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks have taken down the Blackhawk play of the night before. I can't believe you ended up on this game for this. I feel like I'm sweating this. I hope people watching it all over sweating it with us. We need to shake this. The Ducks have to score the next goal. I'm worried. It's 2-2 with 12.5 minutes left in the second period. Game's going to fly over.
Yeah.
Play in-game over. Yeah, they're both going to score again, right? This is going to come down to you sweating this on the train ride home. It's 100% going to happen. Yeah.
4 times. 4 times all year have they scored 3 goals or more in back-to-back games, and yet this is going to be the 5th. One time. Forget that. One time all year they've won 2 in a row. Once. This is going to be the second time.
One of my favorite things, I have many favorite things about doing the shows with you, but when you get to that high pitch, when you go to that next octave like that, one time, I actually get very, I don't mean to laugh, but it's very entertaining, very amusing. And I feel the pain.
Better than laughing, cry.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they beat it out of you. A lot of times these teams beat it out of you. It gets you. So you got to get excited. This is what we do the second week of March before the tournament. 25-25, Gonzaga, St. Mary's. 2 minutes to go in the first half. That's an under pace.
That's an under pace.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's under. All right, that's good. Did we decide on Knights and Kraken? Because that game is going to consume the rest of my evening. I'm going to watch that game after we get off the air. My wife and daughters are on spring break, by the way, so I'm home alone with the dog. I can order anything I want. There's no repercussions of we don't want this tonight for dinner. You know what it's like trying to get the women to agree on what to eat.
Oh, yeah.
But I will be watching this game. I like the Kraken. George mentioned it earlier. George doesn't like to take the dogs too much. He likes the Kraken. What were you anywhere with this one?
I'm thinking Vegas. I'm surprised. You like the Kraken,
Really?
huh? Oh, Vegas, a big number on the road, minus 160, right?
Yeah. What's going on?
Are they turning it
So
on?
hot.
Or are they getting into their, Stanley Cup run, Vegas? They kind of and played mediocre hockey after that original start to the season.
Yeah.
Then went into a funk, but I think they're playing a little bit better of late, aren't they? Not, like Vegas?
Yeah. They made all these moves, and like a lot of people in different cities get aggravated because I don't know what happens exactly, but they move guys to injured list, and then they bring in new guys, and everybody meshes. And this is that time of year where, I'll take an afternoon or early morning, late morning, whatever, and go watch the practices. And people are starting to ramp up for a playoff run again here in Vegas. It was so much fun last year winning the Stanley Cup and going to the parade and all that other stuff. But I mean, the buzz in the city, like everybody's coming for the final Pac-12 championship. It's the final Pac-12 tournament, basketball tournament.
Oh,
and right. Like I already reached out to K-Dub. I told him today on Game Time Decisions if he could just let LeBron know to save me seats next to him to watch Bronny play because he's going to be here in town. I mean, I know K-Dub has a direct line to him, so I reached out. But is this? When you look at the Pac-12, and we'll probably, we'll look at it a little bit more tomorrow, but is this an Arizona party? Is this how it ends? The Pac-12 ends with Arizona just winning the Pac-12 championship?
Well, you would think so, right? There's not that many great teams in the Pac-12 this year. There's some blue bloods, if you will, the Stanfords of the world. They're really down. USC, UCLA. I don't know who's capable of knocking them off. Arizona's always capable, right, of laying an egg. No two ways about that. But, I would think yes. They don't play great on the road. Now, everyone's on the road, but still, I don't know. Them being on the road just away from home affects them no matter who they're playing. But I would think Arizona. Is Arizona one of the, is the Pac-12, I forget how each conference does it. Do they get at least into the semifinals or quarterfinals? Do they get any kind of bye, or they got to play, 4 games themselves?
No, I think they got to play 4 games themselves. Yeah, I think they got to play 4 games themselves.
You wonder where the motivation is, right? Are they buying into this is the last Pac-12? Let's win. Arizona's basically got a number 1 locked up, right, with a couple of wins, and then just say, all right, that's it. Let's go home.
Do they have a number 1? See, that's the hard part, right? The whole thing.
Yeah.
You talk about conspiracy theories. You made me put my conspiracy hat on for you when you were talking about it. The Final Four is in Glendale. Final Four is in Arizona. They would love if Arizona, which is based down in Tucson, would make the Final Four. The place will be packed. I mean, that'll be a fun week. The other tournament that I think is worthy of discussion is out here it's the Mountain West. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that one, but I mean they're talking about 6 teams getting in from the Mountain West. That'd be shocking. Or the Big 12, which is probably going to have the most teams in the NCAA tournament. But the Big 12, my goodness,
that's going to
Wetzel, this is a really hard tournament.
Yeah.
Look at the standings. Iowa State, legit. Baylor, legit. Texas Tech, really? I think BYU's live. The one that sticks out to me is Kansas. Kansas, they're not Kansas anymore, are they?
No, they're not. It's amazing. They're not Kansas anymore. Kentucky, potentially can be great, but these are not the Carl Anthony Town Kentucky teams, right? They could lose just as easily as they could win. Dookie Pukey's clearly not the Dookie Pukeys anymore. Syracuse isn't Syracuse anymore. You got a lot of UCLA is clearly not UCLA anymore.
Right.
You got a lot of the blue bloods that aren't like. Listen, no one is, right? I mean, the college basketball, you got two teams, UConn and Houston. To me, they're the only two. And I've said this. If you gave me Houston and UConn or the field, I would take UConn and Houston.
You would?
I think it's going to be tough for either one not to get to the Final Four, and then I'll take my chances. I got two legs in the Final Four. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I just think they're
There's
that
a
much
fun
better
bet
than
that
everybody
we'll
else.
We'll look at next week. To add up the number of the seeds in the Final Four. I love that bet. I used to make that number, and it's really it's fun because it makes you think, and you got to go through the bracket. But if you end up with these Final Four odds like this, and you get Connecticut and Houston both as 1 seeds, I mean, that number is going to be an under. That's going to be an under, right?
What are they, 7.5? 8.5, maybe?
No,
they'll give a
I think
half, right? That won't make it a solid number.
Oh, it's always a half. You have to have a decision. If you're going to take the time to figure out the parlay of getting to the Final Four, you got to have a decision. There's no pushes on this. We can't have pushes.
Right.
That's too much work. I don't like pushes. No, can't have it.
I think. So, what do you think it would be? 8.5? Think of two number ones.
It'll probably be double digits. Right?
You think? Oh, I'd go under. I would go
that's
under.
Usually, 6.5. Matty G's yelling in
Nah,
my
that's
ear.
too low.
3 1s and a 3.
You know why? Because you're going to have a Kentucky as a 3 or a 4, and a North Carolina. Well Duke is a 3 and a 4, and then Kansas, and they're going to. Yeah.
That's where you have to see the seeds, right? You have to see who the seeds are.
Yeah, you really
because
do.
when you see the 1 seed that's not going to make it, because it's not all 4 1s make it.
Right. Never happens.
Is it the 3 or the 4? In that bracket. And then if another one doesn't make it, it's a 2 or 3, and all of a sudden the number's 9.
Yeah, you're right. It'd have to be a double digit.
3, a 1, and a 1. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting. We'll make the number after we see the bracket on Sunday. We'll make the number. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see what team gets the break. Does Arizona get the break, knowing the finals is in their backyard, or do they make it tougher for them? I think they'll be on the West Coast. UConn's got an easy road. You got to check out all these regional sites and figure out who's really going to have home games. So, all right, we'll close up shop next with our best bets on the board.
The Bostonian versus the book.
In the Big Ten, it's the same thing. No offense to you guys. This feels like the Penn State rule. This feels like this is a guaranteed Penn State to get in.
We need to find a way to let them in because they can't beat Michigan. They can't beat Ohio State. But if we make them a third,
they get in.
This
is the Penn
always
State
going to
rule.
be better than the West half.
Yep.
And that 1 year that Lightning in a Bottle catches on the West half, we'll let them in too because they'll bring people.
The Bostonian versus the book.
The books are treating the Celtics 4 points better at minimum than maybe every single team in the NBA, And so far, I believe they've covered every game since the break.
The Celtics' strict goal here, anything less than a finals appearance and a finals championship is going to be a failure for the Celtics. They got all the pressure in the world across the board here.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Laying points on the road in college basketball is an absolute landmine. I would not do it. I won't do it the rest of the year. I'm done doing that because it just consistently loses.
I mean, 3 possessions in a 9-point game in which the opposition now is the clock, not the actual team you're facing, right?
Right.
And these guys are taking up shots. I mean, it's just like, that's why it's the NBA.
InGame Live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Pro League Soccer, powered by Marca.
I would be willing to bet the under 2.5 goals.
Fantasy sports today.
Especially in head-to-head formats in fantasy, I think I'm going to go with Juan Soto.
Game time decisions.
People don't like it. I don't really care. I cannot believe anybody is betting the Clippers at this number.
Betting above the
All
rim.
I've heard you say on the network is you're either winning or you're rebuilding.
InGame Live, all access.
Nobody has been more profitable as a dog than Shaka Smart team.
Winning back-to-back road games. I don't care if they're playing Topeka High. I wouldn't give them any chance whatsoever.
InGame Live, prime time.
Back-to-back, just utterly stinker quarters.
InGame Live, overtime.
Honestly, as you sit here and listen, watch right now, you may want to consider placing that bet.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live, prime time. Quick 2 hours here in the books as we wrap up shop. Scott Wetzel, Dave Sharapan. We'll be back tomorrow. And then tomorrow, we got to do our teams that choke 3-team parlay. Last week, we did our 3-team best bets to win the championship, NBA, NHL, and college basketball. Tomorrow, we'll do the team that never win, but maybe, just maybe, lightning strikes like we had in the NBA on Sunday, last Sunday. All the dogs that end up somehow or another winning. So we'll put that together tomorrow. We'll have some fun with that, Dave. So any lasting final thoughts here? We got a couple of games still on the board. St. Mary's up a couple points at halftime. We got the Rockets up 1 against San Antonio. Anything that we should throw some money on? And obviously the hockey later on tonight.
I don't even know if I should mention it right now. I don't know. I don't know. I'll just say it. It's just like a Band-Aid. You just got to rip it off quick. It's a quick. The Blackhawks have scored 3 goals. They lead 3-2 against the Ducks. If you want good mojo, it's time to bet the Ducks. They're going to come back. They have to come back. I mean, it's plus
yeah, using
money.
my phrases. They have to.
They have to come back, don't they? No, you're not sold. No.
How about a Florida Panthers down 3-1?
Nope.
More bad money on Anaheim plus 280 parlay, 34-1. And for good measure, we'll throw in Colorado. Right, we're down 2-1 Colorado.
What do you
67-1.
What the hell are you doing right now? What are you doing?
We're going all in.
That's
we're going all in on a stinking Anaheim Ducks. Unbelievable. I bet Chicago against Arizona, they score a gazillion goals. I bet against Arizona again, they scored a gazillion goals. And now Anaheim, they score a gazillion.
You're good for business for the Blackhawks. I mean, we got to bet Connor Bedard props when you bet against them. Balance it out.
Yeah. 3-2 Blackhawks. Unbelievable. All right, we'll do it all again tomorrow. Great job, Dave.
See you tomorrow.
Let's go Ducks.